I'm severely socially anxious. But the system forces me to humiliate the fallen movie star, Ryan. In a corner of the film set, I threw a lunchbox on the ground with tears in my eyes, my voice barely a whisper. This garbage food is all you deserve. Actually, the lunchbox contained a chicken leg I just bought for him. I just couldn't bring myself to hand it to him directly. 3 years later, Ryan swept the Triple Crown Awards and became a legend in Hollywood. The system wouldn't give up. Go embarrass him in public. At the celebration party, I trembling grabbed his tie, trying to look fierce. Bow your head. What do you think you are? But under everyone's gaze, he obediently bent down, nuzzling my neck and whispered, I'm your personal property. Am I obedient enough? The system was stunned. Wait, why does he look like he's enjoying this summer at the film studio? The air reeked of cheap hair gel mixed with fermented sweat. Suffocating and unbearable. Alex stood in the shadows by the wall, his fingers gripping the heavy thermal lunchbox so tightly. His knuckles turned white. He felt like he was suffocating. His lungs worked like a broken bellows, wheezing through the heat waves. The cold mechanical voice in his head kept pushing him post. Please note, Dylan, Ryan Chun is approaching. Execute task immediately. Humiliate and crush his dignity. Fail your penalty. Perform a pole dance in public. Alex's knees went weak, he almost collapsed. A pole dance. For someone with severe social anxiety, who blushed for 30 minutes just saying thank you to a delivery guy, and who wanted to wear an invisibility cloak when grocery shopping, this punishment was no different from execution. I'll go. Okay. Alex begged tearfully. In his mind, he took a deep breath, trying to shrink into his oversized hoodie, only showing a pair of watery eyes, like a terrified hamster ready to die from shock. Someone approached from the distance. Ryan Chun, former movie star, now a pariah after offending the wrong people. He was blacklisted, slandered, and now could only play a worthless corpse. In this cheaply made web series, the man wore tattered costume clothes, his face still stained with fake blood, and dirt that hadn't been completely removed. Even like this, his face was devastatingly handsome. High cheekbones, deep-set eyes, a jawline sharp as a blade. He walked slowly, each step landing on Alex's taut nerves. Alex's heart pounded wildly. Go throw it. Insult him. The system screamed. Alex closed his eyes and rushed forward. He rushed too quickly, tripping over his own feet, crashing in front of Ryan like a cannonball. Ryan stopped and looked down. Those eyes were dark and empty, like two dried wells being stared at by those eyes. Alex felt like he'd been stripped naked and thrown in snow, every hair standing on end. You. Alex opened his mouth, his voice shaking like a sieve. Ryan said nothing, just quietly observing this person, who'd suddenly appeared wrapped up like a dumpling. Alex bit his tongue, forcing himself to raise the lunchbox. It was a special meal he'd had his family chef prepare. The bottom layer filled with peeled shrimp, hiding a huge New Orleans chicken leg in the middle, covered with white rice as camouflage to keep it warm. He'd held it close all the way here. The box was still hot. This kind of Alex tried to look fierce, but physiological tears were already forming in his eyes, turning them red. His hand shook, and the expensive lunchbox crashed with a thud beside Ryan's feet, in the dust. Fortunately, though his hands shook, he subconsciously couldn't bear to waste food. He threw it skillfully. The box landed flat,
Lid intact.
Not a single grain of rice spilled this garbage. Food is all you deserve. After Alex shouted this, his voice was as quiet as a mosquito, the ending trembling with barely contained emotion. After speaking, he didn't dare look at Ryan's reaction and turned to run. After 2 steps, remembering the system's requirement to crush dignity, he forced himself to stop, and with his back to Ryan, stuttering, finish it all, or you can't leave. Then he fled in panic. That retreating figure looked less like someone who just humiliated another person, and more like someone who'd been robbed. Ryan stood there watching the small, panicked figure disappear around the corner. The sunlight was vicious, making his scalp tingle. Several extras around pointed and laughed mockingly. Look, isn't that the great actor Ryan? Even that idiot young master from the Wilson family dares to step on him. A fallen phoenix is worse than a chicken.
Serves him right.
Ryan's expression remained unchanged as he bent down. His long fingers touched the lunchbox on the ground, still warm. He opened the lid. What should have contained scraps and leftovers was steaming hot. He pushed aside the disguising layer of white rice. A glossy, well-dripping chicken leg lay there surrounded by crystal-clear shrimp, even garnished with 2 bright green broccoli florets. The aroma was overwhelming, instantly covering the surrounding stench of sweat. Ryan's fingers paused. Garbage food. Did the Wilson family's young master have some misunderstanding about pig dining standards? He picked up a shrimp and put it in his mouth. Fresh, sweet, bouncy, top-grade sea shrimp, cleaned perfectly, even the veins removed completely. Ryan chewed slowly, and suddenly a crack appeared in his dead, silent eyes. He looked up toward where Alex had disappeared. That Wilson family young master, who wrapped himself in hoodies, stuttered when speaking, but had eyes red as a rabbit's. Alex, he rolled these syllables on his tongue, his voice low and husky with a hint of amusement. This is your humiliation. Alex ran out of the film studio in one breath, diving into his family's car before daring to breathe properly. That scared me to death. He collapsed in the leather seat, his hands and feet still weak, cold sweat soaking his back. Host your performance just now. The system's voice sounded constipated. Although you said the lines correctly and did the actions, did your presence feel like you were delivering tribute to the enemy? Alex grabbed a pillow to cover his face, mumbling, I did my best. I even dared to throw something. Do you know how hard that was for me? I almost had cardiac arrest. The system sighed, fine. The process was a bit pathetic, but at least the task was judged complete. The villain's current corruption value is...
Huh?
What's wrong? Alex nervously peeked out with one eye. Did he not eat the chicken leg? Did the penalty trigger? I swear I'll buy him a whole turkey next time, just please don't make me dance. The corruption value. The system's mechanical voice glitched, emitting a sound like a scratched vinyl record.
It dropped.
It was at a dangerous 85% this morning. Now it's at 40%. Host, what exactly did you put in that lunchbox? Antidepressants. Alec blinked, his long eyelashes fluttering against the soft fabric of the pillow. Just shrimp and chicken. And broccoli. I made sure they cut the broccoli stems because they're too hard to chew. The system fell dead silent. If it had a physical form, it would be rubbing its temples. We are a villainous humiliation system, Alec. You are supposed to be the arrogant, spoiled heir of the Wilson family who crushes the fallen protagonist into the mud, not a Michelin star caregiver. But I threw it. Alec protested weakly, his face flushing crimson. I threw it right at his feet. I was extremely malicious. You threw it with the precision of an Olympic curler to ensure the lid wouldn't pop off, the system retorted dryly. Whatever. The task registered as completed, because you said the lines. But if you want to survive, your next humiliation must be flawless. No more catering. Okay. Alec mumbled, burying his face back into the pillow. Just surviving that one interaction had depleted his social battery for the entire month. The thought of facing Ryan Chen's dark, bottomless eyes again made his stomach tie itself into anxious knots. Back at the studio lot, Ryan sat on a discarded apple box, systematically dismantling the lunchbox. He hadn't eaten a proper meal in 3 days. Ever since he refused to sleep with a certain powerful studio executive, his contracts were terminated, his bank accounts frozen under dubious legal clauses, and his reputation dragged through the mud with fabricated scandals. He had been prepared to starve, to crawl through the dirt until he could bite the throats of those who put him there. Instead, he was eating a perfectly roasted New Orleans chicken leg. Hey, Ryan. A greasy-haired production assistant kicked the dirt near Ryan's boots. Don't think just because young Master Wilson left his garbage here, you're suddenly special. Finish your trash and get back to set. You're playing corpse number 4 in the mud pit today. Ryan slowly swallowed a piece of shrimp. He looked up, his eyes locking onto the PA. There was no anger in his gaze, just a cold, terrifying stillness that made the PA involuntarily take a step back. Garbage, Ryan echoed softly. He looked down at the empty, pristine box. There was a small, custom logo embossed on the bottom plastic, Wilson Estate Kitchens. Ryan let out a low, rough chuckle. If this was the Wilson family's idea of trampling his dignity, he was looking forward to the next beating. The second humiliation came 2 weeks later. The autumn rain was pouring down in sheets, turning the back alleys of the film lot into freezing rivers of mud. Ryan was standing under a leaking awning, shivering in a thin cotton shirt after the director intentionally extended the shooting of a rain scene. System alert. The protagonist is vulnerable. Drive your luxury car through the puddle and splash him with muddy water. Mock his poverty. Inside the warm, heated cabin of a sleek black Maybach, Alec was hyperventilating into a paper bag. I can't do it. It's freezing outside. He'll get pneumonia. If he gets pneumonia, he might die. If he dies, I'm a murderer. I can't go to prison system. The prison uniforms are so scratchy, and I won't know anyone there. Breathe, host. Just splash him and throw the prop money out the window. It will crush his pride. Alec gripped the steering wheel with sweaty palms. He hit the gas. The Maybach surged forward. Outside, Ryan watched the headlights approaching. He recognized the license plate. He stood completely still, ready for the muddy water. He didn't care. If it was that stuttering, rabbit-eyed boy, he found he didn't mind the cruelty. But the Maybach didn't hit the puddle. At the last possible second, the car swerved violently, missing the water entirely, and screeched to a halt half on the sidewalk. The tinted window rolled down a mere 2 inches. A thick, cashmere Burberry blanket, still radiating the heat of the car's interior, was forcefully shoved out of the crack, along with a thick stack of $100 bills. "Don't dirty my eyes with your wet hair," a muffled, wavering voice squeaked from inside the dark car. "Take this trash and go buy a hairdryer. You look like a drowned rat."
Disgusting.
Before Ryan could even reach out, an expensive, heavy-duty umbrella was practically thrown like a javelin out of the window, bouncing off Ryan's chest. "Don't let the rain touch you. It ruins the aesthetic of my neighborhood," Alec yelled, his voice cracking midway. The window zoomed up so fast it nearly caught the fabric of the blanket. The Maybach reversed clumsily, bumped into a trash can, and sped off into the night like it was being chased by demons. Ryan stood in the freezing rain. He caught the umbrella and popped it open. He picked up the heavy cashmere blanket from the relatively dry sidewalk. It smelled like expensive cedarwood and vanilla, the exact scent that had drifted from the boy during the lunchbox incident. Ryan wrapped the warm blanket around his freezing shoulders. He looked down at the stack of crisp bills. Tucked inside the cash was a small, pastel yellow sticky note. "Buy ginger tea. Don't catch a cold." It was hastily crossed out, and scrawled aggressively beneath it was, "Buy cheap clothes, peasant." Ryan stood under the umbrella, his shoulders shaking. He wasn't shivering. He was laughing. A deep, chest-rattling laugh that echoed in the empty alley. "How terrifying," Ryan murmured, pressing the cashmere blanket against his face, inhaling the vanilla scent. "I'm trembling with humiliation." For the next 3 years, the system lived in a constant state of agonizing confusion, while Alec lived in a constant state of sheer panic. Whenever the system demanded Alec sabotage Ryan's career by forcing him into a terrible B-movie, Alec would stutter his way into a casting director's office, aggressively throwing money at them until they cast Ryan in a gritty, underfunded indie film. Alec had just chosen the script with the fewest words so Ryan wouldn't have to memorize too much. He didn't know the indie film, Shadows of the City, would go on to win the Cannes Film Festival. When the system demanded Alec make Ryan homeless, Alec aggressively bought out Ryan's rundown apartment building, evicted him, and forced him into a sprawling, 5,000-square-foot penthouse owned by the Wilsons. "Rot in this empty prison," Alec had yelled, hiding behind his bodyguards, his face flushed all the way to his ears. "You're not allowed to leave unless it's to go to work. The fridge is restocked daily with Wagyu beef. Suffer the cholesterol." Ryan had simply leaned against the doorframe of the penthouse, his eyes dark and heated, staring at Alec like a starving wolf looking at a particularly soft piece of marshmallow. "I will endure this torture, young master. Will you come inspect my suffering often?" Alec had literally fainted. Through it all, Ryan Chen's rise was meteoric. He wasn't just a star anymore. He was an unstoppable force of nature. Directors begged for his time. Brands threw millions at his feet. His acting was visceral, raw, and breathtaking. He crushed his former enemies without lifting a finger, using his immense influence and the silent, baffling backing of the Wilson family's immense capital. But to the public, Alec Wilson was Ryan Chen's greatest tormentor. The paparazzi always caught photos of Alec glaring at Ryan. Actually just Alec squinting because he forgot his glasses, or Alec running away from Ryan in disgust. Actually Alec having a panic attack because Ryan unbuttoned his shirt too low. System alert. Host, the plot has reached the climax. Ryan Chen has swept the Triple Crown. "I know," Alec groaned, lying face down on his massive bed, wearing dinosaur pajamas. "I watched the broadcast. He looked really handsome. Terrifying. Very villainous." Host, "This is the final node," the system said, sounding exhausted. Over the years, the system had stopped trying to analyze Ryan's corruption value, which had flatlined at a bizarre 0%, but occasionally spiked to 100% possessiveness, a stat the system didn't even know it had. Tonight is the celebration party. You must execute the ultimate public humiliation. Break his pride in front of the entire industry. If you fail, the pole dance penalty is absolute. Alec whined into his mattress.
Why?
"Why do I have to? He's a megastar now. He has bodyguards. They'll snap my neck." He has no bodyguards tonight. He is waiting in the VIP lounge. The script dictates. You grab his tie. You force him to bow. You assert dominance. You ask him what he thinks he is. Do it, and you are free of me forever. Free forever. The words echoed in Alec's mind. He wouldn't have to be a fake villain anymore. He wouldn't have to force himself into crowded rooms. But it also meant he wouldn't have an excuse to see Ryan anymore. A strange, dull ache bloomed in his chest. He pushed it down, attributing it to his usual anxiety.
Fine.
Let's get this over with. The grand atrium of the Beverly Wilshire was a sea of glittering gowns, popping flashbulbs, and clinking champagne glasses. Hollywood's elite gathered to worship at the altar of Ryan Chin, the youngest actor to ever win the Triple Crown. The air was heavy with expensive perfume, but for Alec, it reeked of suffocation. He stood in the shadows by the ice sculpture, his fingers gripping the edge of a high-top table so tightly his knuckles turned white. He wore a stunning custom-tailored white suit, looking like an angel that had accidentally fallen into a pit of vipers. He's approaching, host. Go. Alec took a deep, trembling breath. He stepped out of the shadows. The crowd naturally parted for him. Everyone knew of the bizarre, antagonistic relationship between the Wilson heir and the new king of Hollywood. Whispers broke out. Is he going to cause a scene? I heard Alec Wilson hates him. Ryan will destroy him now. He has the power. Ryan Chen walked through the crowd like a monarch. He wore a bespoke midnight blue tuxedo that hugged his broad shoulders and narrow waist perfectly. His hair was slicked back, highlighting those sharp, devastating cheekbones. His eyes, usually cool and aloof to the masses, immediately locked onto the trembling figure in white. A terrifyingly gentle micro-expression flashed across Ryan's face, vanishing so quickly no one else caught it. Alec's knees felt like jelly. He walked forward, his vision tunneling. He's so tall, Alec thought in panic. How am I supposed to reach his tie? I have to tiptoe. This is already humiliating for me. They met in the center of the room. The music seemed to stop. Hundreds of eyes stared at them. Do it! The system shrieked. Alec closed his eyes, completely abandoning his fear in a desperate bid for freedom. He lunged forward. His pale, shaking hands reached up and grabbed the lapels of Ryan's midnight blue jacket, his fingers tangling in the silk tie. Alec tried to look fierce. He tried to mimic the mobsters he'd seen in the movies. He yanked downward. Bow your head, Alec commanded. His voice wasn't a roar. It was a breathless, trembling whisper, heavily laced with a terrified stutter. What do you think you are? A collective gasp echoed through the ballroom. People braced themselves for Ryan Chen to backhand the spoiled heir. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Ryan didn't move for a fraction of a second. He looked down at the hands gripping his tie. The boy was shaking so hard the vibrations traveled up the silk fabric. Alec's eyes were squeezed shut, his long lashes damp, his lower lip bitten red to stop it from quivering. He was so beautiful, and so absurdly brave in his cowardice. Ryan let out a low sigh that sent a shiver straight down Alec's spine. Under the shocked gaze of Hollywood's most powerful elites, Ryan Chen, the untouchable Triple Crown winner, obediently bent his knees. He lowered his towering frame until he was completely submitting to Alec's grip.
He didn't just bow. He leaned in.
Ryan's face brushed past Alec's ear, his nose burying into the soft, warm curve of Alec's neck. He inhaled deeply, taking in the sweet, familiar scent of vanilla and panic. I'm your personal property, Ryan whispered, his voice a dark, velvety purr that resonated directly against Alec's collarbone. His strong hands came up, not to push Alec away, but to wrap possessively around Alec's waist, pulling the boy flush against his chest. I've been wearing the clothes you bought, living in the cage you gave me, eating the food you fed me. Am I obedient enough, my young master? Alec froze. His brain short-circuited. System? He called out mentally. System, is this in the script? The system was making sounds like a dial-up modem crashing. Error. Error. Villain humiliation protocol overridden. Romance subroutine detected. What is happening? Alec opened his eyes, staring wide at the ceiling. The heat radiating from Ryan's body was overwhelming. He could feel the hard muscles of Ryan's chest against his own beating heart. You're supposed to be humiliated, Alec squeaked, trying feebly to push Ryan's chest, but it was like pushing a brick wall. I am... Ryan murmured against his skin, pressing a brazen, lingering kiss to the side of Alec's neck right in front of 300 people and a dozen paparazzi cameras. I'm thoroughly degraded. I have no dignity left. I'm completely at your mercy. So, Ryan pulled back just enough to look into Alec's stunned, watery eyes. The dark, bottomless pits of Ryan's gaze were entirely filled with a burning, terrifying affection. You have to take responsibility for me for the rest of your life, Alec. The ballroom erupted into absolute chaos. Cameras flashed like lightning. Screams and gasps layered over each other. Wait, Alec stuttered, his face so red he looked like he might actually combust. Wait, you knew? You knew I wasn't bullying you. Ryan chuckled, his thumb gently caressing Alec's burning cheek. Sweetheart, the first time you tried to bully me, you packed my lunch in a temperature-controlled box so the chicken wouldn't get cold, and you peeled the shrimp so I wouldn't have to dirty my hands. I'm an actor, but even I couldn't pretend to be offended by that. Alec wanted the floor to open up and swallow him whole. His severe social anxiety was peaking, but oddly, the protective arms wrapped around his waist acted as an anchor. The suffocating feeling of the crowd was blocked by Ryan's broad shoulders, shielding him from the cameras. Let's get out of here, Ryan whispered, sensing the tremor returning to Alec's frame. Without waiting for an answer, Ryan swept Alec off his feet, carrying the air bridal style. Alec yelped, instantly burying his flaming red face into the crook of Ryan's neck, exactly like a terrified hamster seeking a burrow. As Ryan carried him toward the exit, reporters shoved microphones in their direction. Ryan, what is the meaning of this? Are you and the Wilson heir? Ryan paused near the doors. He turned back, his expression shifting instantly back to the cold, untouchable movie star the world knew. Write whatever you want, Ryan said, his voice ringing with absolute authority. But if a single word upsets him, I will buy your publications and burn them to the ground. He is my patron, my boss, and if he'll have me, my future. He turned and walked out into the cool Los Angeles night, leaving behind a ballroom that had practically exploded. In the quiet, luxurious interior of Ryan's private car, which, ironically, Alec had bought for him 2 years ago as a punishment because it was an ugly shade of matte black, Alec was sitting rigidly on Ryan's lap. He had tried to move to the other seat, but Ryan simply held him in place by the waist, resting his chin on Alec's shoulder, refusing to let go. System. Alec called out weakly in his mind. Did I pass the mission? A long, exhausted sigh echoed in his head. Task status. Complete. Target's dignity has been metaphorically surrendered. I don't even care anymore. Congratulations, host. You have successfully bypassed the penalty. Unbinding process initiated. Wait, you're leaving? I am a villain system, Alec. I was designed for blood, tears, and betrayal. You turned my gritty revenge drama into a fluffy romantic comedy. I am going to report myself to the factory for a software wipe. Goodbye, host. Enjoy your captive. A faint ping echoed in Alec's mind, and then, total silence. The mechanical presence that had plagued him for 3 years was gone. Alec. Ryan's low voice pulled him back to reality. Are you alright? You're spacing out. Alec looked down at the man holding him. Ryan had taken off his bow tie and unbuttoned the top 3 buttons of his shirt. He looked relaxed, powerful, and devastatingly handsome. And he was looking at Alec like Alec was the only thing in the universe that mattered. I don't have to bully you anymore, Alec blurted out. Ryan's lips curved into a wicked, devastating smile. What a shame. I was just starting to enjoy my punishments. Alec's face flushed anew. You're crazy. I threw a lunchbox at you. I threw an umbrella at your face. You made sure the umbrella handle was padded, Ryan countered, his hand lazily tracing circles on Alec's lower back. And you paid the director of that indie film double his budget just to make sure I had a heated trailer on set. You thought you were so stealthy, hiding behind your family's shell companies. You investigated me? I protected you, Ryan corrected gently. Do you think the Wilsons' business rivals wouldn't have noticed you throwing millions around? I've been cleaning up your tracks for 2.5 years, my little hamster. Alec was stunned. All this time, he thought he was the one manipulating Ryan's fate under the system's coercion. In reality, Ryan had been willingly walking into every trap, making himself comfortable and guarding the door so no one else could get in. Why? Alec whispered, his anxiety ebbing away, replaced by a warm, fluttering feeling in his chest. I'm weird. I can't even talk to waiters. I hide from delivery guys. I'm a mess. Ryan shifted, gently cupping Alec's face with both hands. His thumb brushed over Alec's cheekbone. Because when the whole world stepped on me, when I was covered in dirt and fake blood, you came running toward me. You tripped over your own feet, looking like you were going to cry from terror, just to make sure I had a hot meal, Ryan said softly, the amusement fading from his eyes, leaving behind raw, naked sincerity. You didn't humiliate me, Alec. You saved me. And from that day on, I decided I was going to climb to the very top of this rotting industry just so I could be strong enough to build a wall around you. Alec's breath hitched. His eyes grew wide and glassy. So, Ryan whispered, leaning in until their lips were a breath apart. Are you going to keep throwing things at me? Or are you going to let me kiss you? Alec gripped the lapels of Ryan's jacket, the same ones he had grabbed in the ballroom. His heart was pounding, but this time, it wasn't from fear. If I let you kiss me, Alec stammered, closing his eyes, does this mean I have to go to red carpet events with you? Because I really, really hate crowds. Ryan let out a soft, adoring laugh against Alec's lips. No, sweetheart, Ryan murmured as he finally closed the distance. I'll quit acting tomorrow if you want. I belong entirely to you. As Ryan's lips met his, warm and incredibly gentle, Alec felt the last remnants of his anxiety melt away into the quiet hum of the engine. He didn't need an invisibility cloak anymore. Surrounded by Ryan's arms, he was perfectly hidden from the world and perfectly found.